Bonjour. Today we're going to learn different ways that you can ask a question. We've already talked about in practice within class the method called inversion, where you flip the subject and the verb. For example, aimes-tu chanter? Do you like to sing? Where you flip the conjugated verb and the subject around. There are other ways to ask a question, and that's what we're going to learn today. First, we're going to talk about tone of voice. And this is what we were doing kind of at the very beginning of the year before we started flipping our subject and verb around. And it's just where you raise your voice at the end of the sentence in order to turn it into a question. Sometimes you do this in English. Par exemple, tu n'aimes pas la musique? Tu ne parles pas français? Elle n'est pas américaine? And you just raise your voice at the end. So instead of it being, you do not like music, it's, you don't like music? And notice that I made all these questions negative, and I did that for a reason. I just wanted to show you what you do when you answer positively in response to a negative question. So someone asks you a negative question, they're expecting a negative answer, like, you don't like math, do you? And you want to answer, yes, I like math. So let's actually do that question. Tu n'aimes pas les maths? Tu n'aimes pas les maths? And you want to say, oui, j'aime les maths. You're going to say yes, but instead of using oui, you're going to use si, which looks like it's Spanish, but it's actually French. But the only time you're going to use si as yes in French is when you're answering positively in response to a negative question. So it's like you're contradicting them. Tu n'aimes pas la musique? Si, j'aime la musique. Yes, I like music. Tu ne parles pas français? You don't speak French? Si, je parle un peu de français, a little bit of French. That's what you guys would answer. Elle n'est pas américaine? She's not American? Si, elle est américaine. Si, elle est américaine. Yes, she is American. Another way to ask a question is when you are anticipating the response and you're kind of just asking in order to confirm. And all you do is at the end of the sentence, you add n'est-ce pas. N'est-ce pas. It's kind of pronounced n'est-ce pas. N'est-ce pas? Par exemple, il étudie tous les soirs, n'est-ce pas? He studies every night, doesn't he? Or right? Tu aimes la musique classique, n'est-ce pas? You like classical music, right? Un autre exemple. Vous regardez la télévision, n'est-ce pas? You watch TV, right? So you're anticipating the question. Of course you watch TV. Oui, je regarde la télé. The last way to form a question is if you want to ask a yes or no question. Oui, no. And we've been using inversion up to this point, and you can continue to use inversion if you prefer that. But another way to ask a yes or no question is instead of switching the subject and verb, all you do is add est-ce in front of your subject and verb. Now, the question that I often get with this is, what does est-ce mean? Est-ce does not have a meaning. All it does is it turns what would be a sentence into a question, a yes or no question. So let's take a look at this first example to see what I'm talking about. Est-ce que tu aimes les chats? If we didn't have this est-ce here, if we just kind of like took it out, okay, then it would just be a sentence. You like cats. Tu aimes les chats. By adding est-ce in front of it, turns it into a question. Do you like cats? Est-ce que tu aimes les chats? Un autre exemple. Est-ce qu'ils sont ici? Ici, ça veut dire here. Est-ce qu'ils sont ici? So instead of saying they are here, by adding est-ce in front of it, it becomes a question. Are they here? oui ou non, yes or no question. Le dernier exemple, est-ce que tu es à l'école aujourd'hui? Are you at school today? Yes or no question. So instead of it being you are at school today, it's are you at school today? So that est-ce que changes it into a question. To ask the same question using inversion, you just flip it. Es-tu à l'école aujourd'hui? And it means the same thing. Both are you at school today, yes or no question. These are just two different ways to construct that question, using est-ce que as one way and using inversion as another way. So before we move on really quickly to, we're going to do a few practice questions. Repeat this est-ce que after me because this is commonly mispronounced by French students. Try not to focus too hard on the spelling. The spelling of it is kind of weird, and you're going to be tempted to do some weird stuff with the pronunciation. But really all it is est-ce que. Est-ce que. Répétez. Est-ce que. Est-ce que. Ok, maintenant, dans vos notes, vous allez répondre à ces questions en phrases complètes. These questions are yes or no questions because they use est-ce que, just like if we were to do inversion. For example, with number 1, instead of est-ce que tu aimes, we could say aimes-tu? Same kind of question. Aimes-tu aller au cinéma avec tes amis? So go ahead and try these questions, put the answers in your notes, and we will answer them in class tomorrow. La fin. So don't forget, I'm sure you have a few questions. Don't forget to write those down in your notes, and you'll have the opportunity to ask those in class tomorrow. Au revoir.